Case type: after-hours intruder and employee endangerment. Location: Ridgewood Mega Mart, Holiday Seasonal Department. December 19th. Reporting employee: Assistant Manager Leah R. Secondary witnesses: Stalker Evan and Cashier Nora. Every holiday season, stores stay open later, cleanup shifts get longer, and the line between busy and dangerous gets thinner. The store had closed, the doors were locked, the employees were finishing their shift, and someone else was still inside. Someone who wasn't supposed to be there. Someone who had a plan. 2103. Store closes. It was the week before Christmas and Ridgewood Megamart was operating at holiday hours. Closing time, 9 p.m. Cleanup shift until 10 p.m. Customers had finally drained out. Employees locked the doors. Lights dimmed to half power. Routine. Nothing unusual. At least that's what they thought. 2112. First signs something's off. Nora, the cashier, was doing final returns count when she heard a cart roll down aisle 12. Not a loud crash, just the slow, squeak-heavy roll of an empty cart. She assumed it was Evan doing the last-minute collection, but when she called out, nobody answered. And Evan voiced that came from the opposite side of the store. He said, "I'm in toys, not in groceries. Why?" Nora brushed it off. Maybe a cart had slipped. Maybe a wheel was loose. She didn't think much of it. Yet. 2118. Leah noticed missing inventory. The assistant manager, Leah, was scanning shelves before the nightly report. She noticed something settle. Several boxes of women's gloves had been opened. Price tags were torn off. One pair was missing entirely. Again, she wrote it off as shoplifting. Holiday season. It happens every night. But the torn tags bothered her. Shoplifters usually pocket the whole item, not rip it apart first. 2123. Lights flicker in aisle 14. This store was old. The wiring was worse. Lights flickering wasn't new, but the timing was. Aisle 14 was home goods, empty carts, vacuum cleaners, seasonal displays. As Leah walked past, she saw a shadow move behind the tall shelving. She called out, "Hello, we're closed. Employees only now." Silence. Then a soft thud, like someone putting something down quickly. 2126. Evan reports something disturbing. Evan walked up to Leah, looking uneasy. He said, "Did you prop the back emergency door open?" Leah immediately tensed. That door had a heavy steel bar. It took real force to open, and it never stayed open on its own. She followed Evan to see it for herself. The door wasn't wide open, just cracked. Barely an inch, but enough for cold night air to slip through. Enough to say someone used it recently. Leah shut it, engaged the lock. Didn't say a word. 2129. They decide to sweep the store. Protocol said, if something feels wrong, you sweep the building. At least 2 employees, flashlights on. Leah paired with Evan. Nora remained front of store with her phone ready. They started with produce. Nothing. Aisle 2, empty. Aisle 3, stocked. Aisle 4, that's where things changed. 2134. In aisle 4, the floor had been mopped earlier that evening. Clear streaks of dried water. But near the center of the aisle, were 3 footprints. Large, fresh, damp enough to still glisten under the dim lights. They weren't shoe prints from an employee. They weren't tread-patterned like work boots. They looked like dress shoes, and they faced toward the back of the store. 2136. As they approached the holiday decor section, they saw something odd. A display ladder had been moved. It was originally propped against a tall shelving unit. Now it was placed near the fire exit sign. Not knocked over, not bumped into. Moved. Intentionally. Evan whispered, "Someone's hiding." He didn't say who. He didn't say where. He didn't have to. 2139. They were sweeping aisle 17 right before the garden section when both heard it. A soft cough. A man's cough. Not far away. Leah froze. Evan raised his flashlight, and from behind a stack of artificial trees, a man stepped out slowly. He didn't look homeless. He didn't look confused. He wore a clean black coat, pressed slacks, polished loafers, a knit cap pulled low. In one hand, he held the missing pair of women's gloves. He smiled at them. Not friendly, not embarrassed. A calm smile that didn't match the situation at all. Leah forced out, "Sir, the store closed over half an hour ago. You shouldn't be here." The man didn't blink. "I know." 2140. The man makes his intent clear. Leah, still trying to stay professional, asked, "Did you get locked in by accident?" The man shook his head. "No, I waited." Then he added casually, "You don't have cameras back here. That's why I stayed in this aisle." Evan later said that sentence hit him harder than anything. It meant the man had been studying the store, planning, waiting deliberately until everyone else filtered out. 2141. He takes a step forward. Evan stepped in front of Leah without thinking. The man held up his hands like he meant no harm. He said, "Relax, I just need her." He pointed at Leah, not at random, not confused. He pointed with purpose. Leah tried to keep her voice steady. "Why me?" His answer chilled both employees. "Because you park in the same spot every night." 2142. Employees retreat. Leah grabbed Evan's sleeve. They backed away slowly. The man didn't chase. He just watched. Like someone watching prey reposition itself. 2143. They contact security. Nora, still near the registers, called mall security. Response time, 10 to 12 minutes. Too long. They locked themselves in the employee break room. Except, the break room had a small rectangular window in the door. As they huddled inside, they saw movement outside it. A shadow passing by slowly. Stopping. Backing up. Stopping again. Like the man was checking every door in the back section. 2149. Knock on the break room door. 3 slow knocks. Not forceful, just deliberate. Then his voice. "I can wait longer." 2154. Security arrives. 2 security officers entered the store calling out loudly. The man didn't respond. Instead, security later found him, sitting calmly in aisle 19, gloves folded neatly in his lap, like he'd given up, or changed his mind, or was waiting for a better moment. When approached, he didn't resist. He only said, "She ruined it." He never clarified what "it" was supposed to be. 22:10. Police arrive. After a brief detainment, police discovered he had no shopping bags, no wallet, no phone, no ID, just gloves, and zip ties in his coat pocket. He refused to give his name. There was no clear motive documented in the report, but when asked, "Why did you stay after hours?" he finally said this: "It's easier when the building is almost empty. During the holidays, shoppers flood stores at all hours. Employees get exhausted, security gets stretched thin, and some people take advantage of that. Some criminals don't need weapons, they don't need force, they just need time, a dark aisle, and a few minutes when nobody's watching. A reminder." The holidays bring out the best in some people and the absolute worst in others. This is file 007, known internally as the customer who wouldn't leave. It started as a routine closing shift during the busiest week of the season, but what unfolded over the next 90 minutes left 2 employees traumatized and mall security scrambling to keep someone from disappearing into the night. 1813. A man enters the store. The store was minutes away from closing when the man arrived. Late 40s, tall, well-groomed, wearing a business coat. He didn't look dangerous. If anything, he looked like the kind of customer who'd complain about fabric quality. Jordan approached him first, asking if he needed help. According to him, the man didn't answer. He just stared at him too long, like he was evaluating him. Then, quietly, the man said, "I'm waiting for someone." He didn't elaborate. He just walked to the back of the store and stood there, not browsing, not touching anything, just waiting. 1825. Employees begin gentle closing procedures. Mira, the shift lead, did what every retail worker does at close. Turned off half the fitting room lights, rolled the accessory carts to the front, announced over the intercom, "Attention guests, our store will be closing in 5 minutes." Every customer left except him. He didn't move. 1832. First interaction. Jordan approached him again. He said, "Sir, we're closed for tonight." The man interrupted without breaking eye contact. "I said, I'm waiting for someone." He wasn't blinking. Jordan described his stare as flat, like there was nothing behind it. Mira came over. She noticed something else. The man kept glancing at the front windows, not at the displays, but at the parking lot, as if tracking someone. 1840. Employees lock the front doors. Mall policy says employees may lock doors at closing time as long as late customers are escorted out. Jordan asked the man, "Can you tell us who you're waiting for? Maybe we can page them." The man gave a slow smile that both employees described later as wrong. "She'll come in eventually. I just need her to." Then he added, "She knows I'm here." Mira noted that he didn't say a name, not a description, just she. 1848. The employee concerns grow. Mira tried a new tactic. "Sir, mall security requires all guests to exit at close." The man's response was, he leaned in and whispered, "If I leave, she leaves too. That's not happening." When asked to clarify who she was, he simply looked at Mira like she should know. Both employees reported feeling genuinely threatened at this point. 1853. They call mall security. Security said they'd send someone, but it was peak holiday season, short-staffed, overwhelmed, and dealing with 3 shoplifting incidents at the same time. They estimated less than 10 minutes. 1855. The man starts pacing. He began walking between the racks, not browsing, more like patrolling. His coat shifted enough for Jordan to see something on his belt, the outline of zip ties. Jordan was so shaken during the interview that he said he almost convinced himself it was nothing. Maybe part of the coat, maybe a keychain. He didn't want to believe the alternative. 1858. The man approaches the employees. He walked straight to the register counter where Mira and Jordan were standing behind it. The way he lowered his voice made both employees step back. "She told you to keep me out, didn't she? You're helping her." Mira tried to remain calm. "Sir, we don't know who you're talking about." His jaw clenched. "You people never understand. You always protect each other." Neither employee had any idea what that meant. 1803. Jordan noticed something outside. A woman in her mid-20s was standing near the display windows. She wasn't inside. She wasn't coming in. She was peeking around the corner like she was checking whether the man was still inside. When their eyes met, her face went pale, like she'd been caught. She turned around and walked off quickly towards the parking structure. Jordan realized she wasn't coming in. She was hiding from him. 1805. The man panicked. He saw her too. He rushed to the window, practically pressing his face to the glass. "That's her! She saw me! She knows she can't run!" He pulled something from his coat pocket, a pair of leather gloves. He put them on slowly, like he was preparing for something. 1806. Mira locked the back room door, just in case. 1807. The man started toward the exit. Jordan positioned himself between the man and the door, not to block him, but because he didn't know what else to do. The man leaned in close enough for Jordan to smell his breath and whispered, "You shouldn't get involved in things that aren't your business." Then he tried the door. Locked. He pulled harder, then harder. The door didn't budge. For a moment, he looked like he might break the glass. 1809. Security arrived. 3 officers, breathless from rushing between stores. The lead officer asked him to step away from the door. He didn't. He stared at them, breathing heavy through his nose. When he finally turned around, he looked straight at Mira and said, "Tell her I'm not done." Security escorted him out of the mall. He didn't fight. He didn't talk. He didn't even look back. But he smiled the entire walk to the exit. 1940. Police locate the woman. Security found the woman hiding behind a dumpster outside the parking structure. She was trembling, crying, and repeating, "He's not supposed to know where I work." Turns out, she worked in a different store in the same mall. She had filed 3 restraining orders that were never successfully served because he kept changing addresses. That night was the first time he caught her alone. If he had gotten through that door. The file doesn't speculate. It doesn't need to. Holiday shifts bring crowds, chaos, and stress. But for retail workers, the real danger isn't angry customers or long lines. It's the people who walk in quietly, stand too still, watch too closely, and wait for the exact moment someone is isolated. This was file 007, the customer who wouldn't leave. A reminder that in retail, the scariest part of the job isn't the work. It's who walks through the door. Store location, Lakeview Shopping Center. Incident date, December 13. Supervisor on duty, J. Ramirez. I've worked retail during the holidays for 4 years, and I've learned to ignore 90% of what people do. The other 10% is what ends up in these files. December 13th started like any other peak season shift, loud, crowded, and stressful. We were on hour 3 of our deal frenzy weekend, so the store was packed wall to wall with people grabbing last-minute gifts. It felt like the building itself was vibrating, carts rattling, kids crying, customers arguing. Around 5:40 p.m., I had a line stretching halfway into the aisle. My hands hurt from scanning. I hadn't had water in who knows how long. I kept telling myself 3 more hours, then freedom. That's when he stepped into my line. At first glance, he looked like any other winter shopper. Heavy coat, gloves, hat. But the thing that stood out, the thing I noticed before I even saw his face, was the name tag. Bright orange, perfectly polished, shiny enough to reflect the overhead lights. And it said, "Hi, I'm Drew, here to help." We don't have orange name tags. We don't have that slogan, and we definitely don't have a Drew. But he stood there calmly, holding a single children's puzzle. Not even a holiday item, just a small puzzle, ages 4+, with cartoon animals on the box. His posture was strange. He wasn't scrolling on his phone or making small talk. He just waited, completely still, head slightly down. It's weird, but the longer he stood there, the more it felt like he wasn't shopping. He was observing. When it was his turn, I tried to keep things normal. I pointed to the tag and joked, "Wow, that's cheerful." He lifted his head only an inch, enough for me to see his mouth but not his eyes. "Kids love it," he said. His voice was calm, controlled. "It helps them trust me." That sentence hit me wrong. There were 3 families with young kids in line behind him. The woman next in line immediately pulled her daughter closer. I asked, "So, do you work with kids?" "No," he answered, too fast. Then he corrected himself, almost like he regretted the first answer. "Well, not officially." That was the first time I felt a real chill. I told him his total and waited for payment. Instead of reaching for his wallet, he turned his head slightly, not toward me, but to something behind the register, almost like he was listening for a cue. Then he said very softly, "You should call security." My stomach dropped. "Why?" He shrugged gently, like he was telling me a secret. "Because someone in here is pretending to be an employee." I froze. He leaned forward just enough for me to feel the cold air coming off his coat. "And it isn't me." At that point, I pressed the silent security alert under my register. He didn't break eye contact with the item on the counter. Not me, not the line, not the noise around him, just the puzzle box. Then he added, "Tell your loss prevention manager they're looking in the wrong direction." Before I could ask anything, he picked up the puzzle, without paying, and walked away from the register like someone who knew he wouldn't be stopped. I called after him, "Sir!" He didn't turn, not once. Security was already heading over, but he slipped into the crowd like it swallowed him whole. Follow-up, lost prevention review. Security asked me to show them which way he went. I pointed toward aisle 8, toys and seasonal items, but he wasn't there. We checked the emergency exit doors. One of them was ajar, no alarm. That shouldn't be possible. Those doors are checked hourly. LP pulled the footage from 10 minutes earlier. And this is where things got strange. The cameras showed him entering the store. Same coat, same gloves, same walk. But no name tag. Nothing on his chest at all. Yet on camera, the exact moment he stepped into my line, the name tag was suddenly there. No motion of him putting it on, no reaching into pockets, just appearing between frames. We replayed the footage a dozen times. Same result. Additional statements from other staff. Statement: J. Ramirez, supervisor. Ramirez said 2 days before, a little boy told her, "The nice helper man said he would take me to the lost kid room." We don't have a lost kid room. We have a customer service counter. Ramirez looked around but didn't find the boy's helper. She brushed it off until she heard my story. Statement: T.N. Gwen, shelf stalker. Gwen reported seeing a man with a bright name tag near the loading dock entrance around 6 p.m. When Gwen asked what department he worked in, the man responded, "I'm wherever the children are." Gwen assumed he was from corporate and walked away. Notes from local police. 3 stores in the same shopping center reported a man approaching families wearing unofficial employee-style name tags. In 2 cases, the names were different: Josh and Evan. The tags were always bright-colored, shiny, and brand new. None matched any store uniform. 2 parents reported the man attempted to guide their children to a safer area because of store crowding. No child followed him. No one saw where he went after each interaction. Additional footage review. LP found footage from the parking lot. The man is seen walking calmly between cars, pausing near minivans and SUVs, vehicles that typically transport families. He appeared to be reading license plates or scanning the back seats. The puzzle box was still in his hand. At one point, he looked directly at a camera. The footage glitched for a split second, then resumed. He was gone. Final notes. On December 21st, a package arrived at the store, addressed to Kara, Register 7. Inside was an unopened children's puzzle, an orange name tag, and a handwritten note that said, "You called security too soon." No fingerprints, no camera footage of the package being delivered, no record of it being shipped. Case status: active. Warning to staff: report any customer wearing bright-colored name tags, tags with overly friendly slogans, tags that don't match store branding, tags that appear new, polished, or out of place. Do not engage alone. Notify loss prevention immediately.